Not sure if you people have heard, but Blizzard went and decided to super nerf the zombie event coming in this patch. This is dumb. Hella dumb. They gave in to the freaking crybabies over on the forums like, well, right? I'm just trying to play the game or do auctions or quests. Like, come on. You can just hop onto your stupid Brutosaur mount and step away, and then you can let me play the game the way that I want to, which is to ruin your day. But yeah, it's lame because not only do zombies die like hecka fast, apparently they just go away, they despawn if no one's killing them. Not only that, but according to what someone said on the internet, and the internet's always right, zombies don't attack NPCs or players if they're not PvP flagged? What? So why am I even bothering to make zombies? Oh, it's to fulfill someone's freaking daily quest requirement. The game needs more pressure, right? It needs more pressure, some excitement, some tears to smear all over my face.
Well, I hope he gets over it.
He looks like you.
I'm wearing a different shirt, alright? Hello, it's Soul, and welcome back to another episode of Warcraft Weekly, the show that calls itself Warcraft Weekly. We've got a show today and we're going to get right to it, but after we get the scrollies out of the way, like the honorable mentions, the patrons, the Brutosaur song player peoples, and newcomers like Daniel and Elizabeth and Andrew and Eamon and Ryan. Oh, and a thanks to Laura and Lucy for the extra support. Yes! This week was an exceptionally bumpy roller coaster of emotion that thankfully I covered a lot of throughout this week, but I'm going to brush on a few updates. We'll start with this poll here that Blizzard posted the other day asking us, the fans, to choose a mount for them to design. There are 5 for us to vote on, and I'm going to read their descriptions because there's no concept art. Yeah, we just have to, use our imaginations. Like, I mean, what is this? It's 2020. We're not playing an RPG. Anyway, let's go. Not all ancients are interested in war or lore. Some just want to travel the world. A large and leafy mount, the Wandering Ancient invites you to climb aboard and grab a hold of its branches as you embark on a lumbering expedition.
In the forgotten depths of the Dalaran library, this oversized tome was found flapping madly around the room. Open the pages of this arcane-infused book and hitch a ride to magical adventure.
When the helm of domination shattered, the Nerubians under the control of the Lich King were unleashed. Some were captured by the Argent Crusade and turned by their allies in the Ebon Blade. Now, their spidery claws are put to use as mounts, skittering through the frozen tundra of Icecrown in pursuit of the rampaging undead. A curious caterpillar found its way to the Heartland in Valley of the Four Winds one night, and gorged itself on the oversized vegetables. The Pandaren of Half-Hill awoke the next morning to find the crops half-eaten and an enormous slumbering caterpillar among them. Too large to become a butterfly, this friendly worm is just the right size to train as a mount.
From the slime pools of Plaguefall emerged all manner of jellied creature, including this sticky kitty, a slimy saber cat that's dripping with ooze. It's the kind of mount that you're going to want to wear gloves for. Tee-hee-hee-hee-hee.
The mount that gets the most votes will be gifted to Shadowlands players in the first quarter of 2021, and you have until September 18th at 3 p.m. Pacific to cast your vote. This is actually a pretty good list. It's a tough one. I mean, there's a big ass walking tree. All right, that's pretty cool. Giant book. It's sort of silly, but really different. Crypt Fiend. Undead was my jam back in Warcraft 3, so there's that, there's that nostalgia hit. The caterpillar makes me think Gahoon, but it's probably a lot more wholesome and whimsy, and a slime cat. So, 4 mounts to choose from. Which will you go for? The link to the US poll is in the description. This week over on The Peter, Blizzard held a zombie stress test event, which was more like players nuking zombie infections before they could even take off and then complaining how they can't find any zombies. Not to say that there aren't any issues, even with the testing premise itself. This was announced as a stress test, but telling your testers to all be gathered together where the zombie event takes place takes out the whole idea of a spontaneous invasion, so there goes a lot of that impact. As for the actual problems, I helped bring this to light a couple of weeks ago. zombies were just rampaging. They had virtually no despawn timer, meaning as NPCs returned, zombies were there waiting for them, resulting in the symphony of chaos that you see here. Everyone was fair game, except for certain NPCs, including children. Characters or players, regardless of their level, were a target. And there were definitely some unintended bugs, like taking the plague beyond the original 2 continents, causing more issues and, fun. But anyway, yeah, there were problems. I fully expected these to be resolved, just not to this extreme of a degree. So let me tell you what's up based on my testing from this whole stress test thing. The first hilarious nerf is that zombies die almost immediately to fall damage. It's kinda goofy, but I guess it prevents the whole idea of zombies raining from the sky. Zombies seem to have several kinds of timers that will eventually force them to despawn or die. The first seems to last a little bit less than 10 minutes, as in no matter what happens, a spawned zombie will only stay alive for so long before it just disappears. They also despawn automatically after about like a minute or 2 when they're not in combat. But the moment that they do re-enter combat, that timer seems to reset, which can result in a fairly sizable population of zombies still. But there's a third kind of timer. Zombie HP decays at a rate of 1% of its maximum life every 10 seconds. So what we get is that yes, you've got to work a little bit harder for zombie people like me to upkeep an army, but it's not so bad that you get these unkillable undead clumps that we saw in earlier builds. New characters that pop out from Exile's Reach have some sort of zombie immunity, which is great for them, but not so great for NPCs that they might be trying to talk to in a capital or elsewhere. Because the disease can now be moved via teleport, it appears that it can go anywhere. Your garrison is not a great place to try and bring down, but War Spear sure is. So whether this is intended or not, hop onto the PTR and enjoy it, or suffer through it while you can. The more controversial change comes from needing to be flagged for PvP, at least sort of. I find this to be much less of a big deal than people are making it out to be. If you're not flagged for PvP and not in war mode, you can almost entirely avoid the zombie shenanigans, unless NPCs that you're trying to interact with are getting killed, because most NPCs, or at least many NPCs in capital cities and elsewhere, are in fact flagged for PvP. Infecting that AFK random person somewhere in the city, it's not my idea of fun, and of course this is my opinion. On the other hand, turning half of the city for the undead and compelling players to fight back while avoiding these burly Argent healers and being overwhelmed by guards and players who want to pick me off, that's a bit more of a game to me. So players have the opportunity to participate or not, because maybe they want to do their daily, and the moment that they do engage zombies, whether they're players or NPCs, they're flagged, war mode or not, like let's go. There are more improvements that I would like to see, and I would love to talk about it, but as I'm writing this, there are changes being made. So it's clear that Blizzard has an ongoing interest in improving the event for everyone, from those who want to all but ignore it, to those who want to spread the good and positive energy that the Cult of the Damned is all about. Moving on, this week brought us Maldraxxus, the second episode of the Shadowlands Afterlives animated shorts, which many people enjoyed, but others, even I noticed that it was a little bit lacking in that in-your-face substance that Bastion had, like stab, ooh, and OMG, and good night, sweet prince, that sort of thing. But it's still really good, and I encourage you to watch it and to check out my breakdown. I'm going to link that stuff in the description along with everything else. As we learn more about the Shadowlands, I'm building this growing concern about what its actual purpose is, but I can't really get into it until we learn more, or at least until the Afterlives series is over. Because I'm starting to look at the Shadowlands as this terrible, terrible place where when you step back, not all is as it seems. But I would like to know what your impressions are so far. Mind you, I'm not asking for like a critical perspective on the writing as an analyst or a pundit, but put yourselves in the shoes of someone who is living in the Warcraft universe, like someone who's really immersed into the story. What is the Shadowlands and its purpose? The conversation on Covenant has been loud all week, or maybe it's just because I haven't shut up about it. But this week, one of the biggest questions about Covenant was finally sort of answered. How do you switch back to a Covenant that you had already left? We learned what step 1 is, which is to labor in the zone of the covenant that you wish to get back in good graces with. We still don't know exactly how much or how long it takes to go back to a previous covenant, and without a blue post, we're left to conclude that so far, that's still being discussed internally, less than like 2 months before launch. For those who care, this can be a bit nerve-wracking because many outspoken folk like myself are left with speculation and headcanon, and then parroting that out as a reality that we should discuss. It's a pretty dangerous loop that I admit, yeah, I've let myself get involved in it. That said, I at least want to clarify that I don't think that this is about the 1% versus the casuals. It's a lot more broad, a lot more gray than that. I've touched on it, but I'm gonna touch it some more. I see this more as an ideological clash, a struggle for the soul of WoW between the urge to be competitive versus the immersion of roleplay. That's not what I see as a problem though, that just vaguely identifies what these outspoken players are feeling. It's more that this back and forth drama, it's being stoked by a feature that will only be around for 2 years, and I don't think that's worth it. An expansion feature is not the place for Blizzard to challenge players to make a meaningful choice, because it's not going to be meaningful as soon as we leave the Shadowlands and it deactivates or poofs or whatever. Shadowlands is a test. I can't come up with a better way to describe it except as a test, but it's a test to see how players react when given choices like this, which are meant to be meaningful. But for Blizzard, it's something that they can learn from and then let go. And I'm of several mindsets here. I'm not happy with that because it makes me feel as if the mental and emotional investment that I put into this game isn't being shared by the design team, because lately expansions have felt like these modular FOMO experiences that are here and then gone. Just last week we got word that older alchemy potions that provided buffs will no longer work after a certain level, all in the favor of the newer potions in Shadowlands. Now that's small potatoes, but that's just one more bullet point to support the argument that Blizzard only cares about the now, and is totally okay with bluntly leaving the past behind. But on the other hand, I've seen other MMOs make massive and permanent changes that they can't go back on that ended up tanking the game. So the World of Warcraft has designed this safety net of being able to take this dead weight and drop it before moving on to a fresh experience. You and I have seen reactions of this from fans across the board. I'm gonna see when I have time, but when I'm able to, I'm gonna do my usual sit down and talk, kind of like what I'm doing now, but I'm gonna do my usual thing about game design and talk about the ideal expansion philosophy that I think works. But of course, do my best to acknowledge the needs of players who lean competitive and those who lean towards roleplay. So for the rest of today's news, let's do something a little bit different. We're gonna do a sort of lightning round of winners and losers, alright? You ready? Of course. Let's go. Conduits now show up on dungeon loot tables, and regardless of the difficulty, they all have the same item level. Blizzard has been totally silent on this though, meaning that they're still discussing how or if they'll upgrade. And my advice, don't. Just let it be, alright? Just let us get it and that's it. Speaking for me, I don't want to do anything for conduits apart from just getting them. Like, I'm good with Torghast and profession stuff for making legendaries and rep and just good old gear farming, right? I really don't want to choose between doing my fun little covenant activities and grinding to upgrade my off-spec conduits that I might switch into in 6 days. And by the way, please put charges on that whole respecking thing, please, pretty please, okay, yeah. This week we've got PvP honor vendors and upgrades through honor points. It answers a ton of concerns over gear targeting. Not all the gear's on the vendor yet, leading to confusion and tons of comments over a lack of stat variety. It's data mined, it's over on Wowhead, it's there. So now you can move on to the lack of resilience and rail against PvP scaling and all that stuff. Many abilities have been removed from the global cooldown, and despite my bit of griping, overall it's a good change, I guess. Not all the affected abilities over the past few years have been removed from the global cooldown. That's your cue to hop onto the PTR and have a look at your favorite classes and specs to check out what's changed. The new tabards featured in Shadowlands will reflect the new transmog changes, meaning that tabards are fully fleshed out without that weird gap where the belt's supposed to go. But the old tabards haven't been updated. Come on, Blizzard, at least do the apron, right? It's just you add the thing and that's it. New system requirements for Shadowlands were revealed just this week. I'll leave them right up here so you can gloat over how your computer from CompUSA still works. Unless you don't have a solid state drive. Just kidding, you don't need a solid state drive. And that's the show. This week was amazing and busy. It was bamazing, but maybe too bamazing. I mean, 6 videos, right? 6 videos, and I'm feeling a little bit worn out. Let me tell you though, it has been a super fun and engaging week of back and forth discussion and reactions and even a bit more understanding. I think I've been able to sort of clear my thoughts a bit and better understand people's feelings about this whole covenant thing. And while I still feel like things will work out fine in practice, I am excited to do more game design talky stuff soon. Before that though, Shadowlands prep guides and add-ons and more are coming, and I'm all giddy to show you what's, all the things that I've been working on. So I want to thank you all for being here. You all support me and give me this opportunity to be one of the faces of the WoW community. Like a little face, but I'm here. And I'm gonna keep fighting for player housing, neener. So that's going to be it, friends, allies, horde, people of the toilet. We'll see you next week. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay breezy.